It's time for Washington Side Quest. This episode, A Tale of Two Pots.
Hey Washington Shellfish Questers, Blake here. Well, last year I did a critically acclaimed, award-eligible series on crabbing, 3-part series that consisted of using rings, snares, and diving for them. The two methods I didn't cover was raking for them at low tide and using pots, which is the most common method. So this is to supplement for that. So I've got 2 pots right down here. One of them is a, more entry-level pot, like $20. One of them is more expensive. It's about $120. So quite a difference there. I just wanted to talk about the differences between them and how I like to use them. All right, you may recall from my ring episode, the reason I like to use rings is there's like no barrier to entry. And if I'm actively crabbing and pulling them every 20 to 30 minutes, then that's what I like to go with. I like to go with pots if I'm not going to be pulling that frequently. So I'll go with pros and cons for both of these. So here is the cheaper, kind of $20 range crab trap. So as far as the pros go, is the price. It's the barrier to entry, I'd say, is next to a ring in that the channels to get in are right down here. So they just have to walk in right there, opposed to going up any kind of an incline. And they're versatile. They're easy to store. You can fold them down, so that's great. Saves a lot of room in the garage. I'd say the cons are, they tend to be a little flimsy. They're not always made of like the highest grade material. That's why they're cheap. To me, the biggest con is the doors, and people think that crabs can walk into these and not escape. They absolutely can. Here's some footage of a crab flying out as I'm pulling one up. Sometimes these doors get bent, is the biggest problem. Also, sometimes they're just held up by either current or by the crabs, pushing it up like a crab's inside, and then another one can dart out. So I have enough crab cam footage now that I was pretty convinced that these are, I don't want to give a percentage to it, but they're not as effective as they could be. So I'd say those are the big drawbacks with it. You can't just set it and forget for forever. So I mean, I would, this is like a pot I probably wouldn't let set for, more than 2 or 3 hours, because you're going to lose some crab out of it. With the weakness of crabs exiting out these lower doors, you can do some things to prevent that though. So make sure that the hinges are on either side, otherwise they'll slide over. I kept one like that so you can just get a see. So they come like this, and they can slide all the way like that over, so that you can lose crab that way. I'm gonna go ahead and put that back how it was, but so on this one, see, it's still plenty functional, and because I have the hinges on either sides, here, it's not gonna slide. Another thing I've done is put a piece of pencil lead here on the door, so it falls back down easier. Before I did that, a strong current would keep this door open, and again, I just know that from crab cam footage. Then the last thing I did is I put this, it's not, well, I guess it is a form of chicken wire, but it's just kind of like the square chicken wire there, so that way it can't just like flop out, because it's easy to bend as pencil lead almost. I mean, I can take this and bend it with my hand, so this makes it to where the door is a lot more reliable, and you lose many less crab. So if you're going to go with the $20 option, that's a good way to shore things up. All right, now let's talk the plus $100 option. All right, so this guy, like I said, runs about 120 bucks. It's closer to a commercial style crab trap where when they enter, they cannot leave. And so that is the big advantage of these pots, is retention's dang near 100%. They crawl up here. The store keeps them trapped as well, but when they fall, they really can't get back out. So I'm not going to say 100% of crab are retained, but pretty close to it. Then the other benefit, just heft, quality, I suppose. Even though it looks pretty similar, there's no part of this besides this that I can do with my hand, and this is like a lower end. Like I said, this cost me about 120 bucks, but you can get like higher grade ones that cost over 200. But yeah, then the third big positive is the bait. You can you can put bait in here, and you can run off of like a single gooey duck gut ball, or like a single pot of razor clam guts, and it'll just stay in there, if you especially put it in a measured bag like that, because once they're in, they're trapped. Whereas I forgot, with a weakness of this one, which I actually kind of like, is you go through bait. I think if you put them in, with this, I'd give them a little something to chew on. I mean, you can have a some kind of attractant in there that they can't really get to, but I usually do like to give them like a fish or something in there that they can gnaw on, because it makes a scent trail, but then it also keeps them from trying to actively escape. So if this one, that's not an issue. And then with the weaknesses, this is one of the ones where like its strengths, you know, are its weaknesses. So the cost, it's prohibitively expensive. There's a reason I only have one, and even that was hard to pull the trigger on. Then the other thing is, yeah, crab can't get out. So you gotta be really careful. So when I go to actually drop this, I need to make sure this is not covering this part of the pot. You know, I gotta put this clamp like under it, because this is the biodegradable string, and I think a lot of people will clamp this down, and then it basically completely makes it, you know, where the crabs can't get out if it becomes a ghost pot, which often happens, you know, just by user error, you know, or heck, you know, sometimes maybe it's not your fault somehow. I don't know, someone, you know, pulls up your pot and then drops it in a bad area or something like that. So at any rate, that's crab mortality. I mean, like I say, they can't get out, but that can be bad if you lose the pot. And the other thing is, I would say, yeah, just, and this is a very minor one, but it's a slightly hard barrier to entry. I mean, they have to go up a ramp, but I don't know if it's that much worse than this pot. And personally, you know, I like the expensive pot for like an overnight soak, which I'm usually a little scared to do in case someone pirates it. But with the square pot, you know, I'm pulling that every couple hours, because like I said, you will lose crab in it, and you can do an overnight soak and come up with plenty of crab. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's like not going to retain crab. I'm just saying that the expensive one is expensive for a reason. It just has way better retention. Well, the reason I'm using these pots today is I'm going to go out there. I'm going to try the flounder fishery out here in Quilcene and Dabob Bay. So I'm just going to sit these guys and forget them for like 3 hours. So let's go drop them and then we'll check in.
Well, I think they're all undersized, but there's a lot of crab in here. All done, geez, that's nice. Woo. I'll measure the biggest, but I'm sure they're undersized. Well, the biggest one's probably a female, which you cannot keep. I'll measure just for fun. Jeez, if it was a male, it would be right under. Well, dang, maybe another keeper red in there, and that's about it. So the point of this video wasn't, you know, about how to crab well or having success in crabbing, but you know, it was just to kind of compare the two different types of pots. I will say, with the cheap pot with just some simple modifications, I think it's about as effective as the expensive one. Unless you're doing an overnight soak, then I'd still probably go for the expensive one. But hey, if this is what you got or what you can afford, then by all means. Well, thank you so much, and see you next time on Washington Shellfish Quest.